Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome to a comparison video between Prepared version 5, which is the latest and greatest version of the Prepared Flight Simulator, and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, which was recently released on the 18th of August. My name is Jerry, and thank you so much for tuning in for a video of mine. If you are brand new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, like, and share, and all that good stuff. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, we are at my local airport, which happens to be about 5 miles or so as the crow flies from my house, from my home in the Denver area. I live very near what's considered the Denver Tech Center, and this airport, like I said, is about 5 miles south of me. It is Centennial Airport. It goes by the ICAO call sign of Kilo Alpha Papa Alpha, KAPA. And this is pretty much a default airport in the grand scheme of things as far as Prepared is concerned. There's no add-on, there's no payware for this particular airport. I am running some enhanced ground textures from a third-party developer called Orbix, which is producing content, or has been producing content going back as far as the days of FSX through the iterations of Prepared. They make some content for X-Plane, and they are gearing up, and they have actually already released some content for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. We are in a Cessna 172, very popular aircraft, especially around these parts. I see these flying over my house all the time. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a very quick flight. We're going to depart from 35 right now, just to set the stage here just a little bit. I am running custom weather, basically clear skies, so that you can see everything. And yeah, we're going to depart 35 right. We're going to fly. I'm going to fly over a portion of kind of where I live, so you can kind of see the differences, especially when we get into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. You will really be able to see the differences in what that flight simulator offers out of the box as default compared to almost an out of the box default Prepared version 5. Let's get started. Now, this particular aircraft, the Cessna 172, this is a payware add-on aircraft considered to be study level of the Cessna 172. It is developed by a company called A2A, Alpha number 2 Alpha. This aircraft is not yet available for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, so we will be flying one of the default Cessna 172s in that simulator. But I wanted to use this aircraft. This is one that I'm most familiar with as far as when I do general aviation, VFR type flying in Prepared. This is typically the aircraft that I'm going to be flying. So let's go ahead and gain a little bit of altitude. We'll probably bring it up to about 6,500 feet and trim it out, level it off, and I'll kind of show you some of the area around where I live. And we're going to do basically the same flight, maybe a little bit more in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 here in just a few moments. So please stay tuned for that. Now, directly in front of us, I will go outside for this view here. Directly in front of us, that is called Cherry Creek Reservoir. And there is the Cherry Creek State Park that sort of encompasses that area around. And as you can kind of see, we're flying over a golf course there. As you can kind of see, you can make out some roads, some streets, some houses, some buildings. Obviously, the lake looks fairly similar to what it does in real life. For those elements are represented fairly well within Prepared or FSX even, but not quite as much detail as what you're going to see whenever we switch sims. Now I'm going to make a left-hand turn here, and we're going to be flying very close by to where I live, sort of my neighborhood. I'm not going to point that out just for privacy reasons and everything, but the general area here is considered the Denver Tech Center, and quite a few tech companies are based here, or were based here. When I was employed, I worked in the Denver Tech Center, and just right there, kind of hiding behind the compass there, that is the Denver skyline as it is represented in Prepared version 5. As you can see, a few buildings there. Denver doesn't have a huge downtown skyscraper section, but a few buildings are represented there, but nothing like what you're going to see here momentarily whenever I switch sims and do a little bit of editing. Now, this area, the road there, let me go back out of the cockpit there for you. That is I-25 that's running north and south. That's what is represented there to be I-25. We are fairly close to flying over my neighborhood at this particular point in time. The intersection there where the two major looking highways come together just off of my left wing, that would be I-225, which runs east and west. It's kind of a loop around the Aurora area, takes you out to Denver International Airport, and of course I-25 runs north and south. And so that is pretty much all I wanted to show you with regards to Prepared version 5. I think you'll get a pretty good idea of the differences between what is available in the two sims practically out of the box. I will say now I am running a Orbix texture package that does enhance the trees and does enhance the highways, rivers, lakes, and those sort of things. But as you can kind of see, the traffic is static. There's no cars moving there along I-25. And I will tell you, from living here for 22 years, I don't think I've ever seen, unless there's a blizzard or something like that, I've never seen cars not driving up and down I-25. It is one of the busiest interstate highways connecting through from New Mexico all the way through Colorado, and quite a bit of traffic there. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here. We're going to switch sims, and I will see you here in the magic of an edit in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're about to get started with the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 portion of the video. And let's go ahead and get into our aircraft. Here we are at the same airport, Centennial Airport in Centennial, Colorado, Kilo Alpha Papa Alpha. And one of the first things that I'm going to point out now, these nav aids or these airport identifiers that kind of hover over the screen, you can turn those things on and off. I'm going to leave them on just for the sake of this demo video. But one of the first things that you will notice, and again, we're in the Cessna 172 just like we were before, it is a fantastic little aircraft. Now, there is some differences. Obviously, this is a default classification of an aircraft for the simulator, so it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a study level aircraft of its equivalent would have, but it's still a fine aircraft to learn in. One of the first things that you'll notice as we peer down the runway is you see how the runway is sloped. Now, P3D version 5 was the first of the prepared versions that did offer some sloped runways. Most runways are somewhat sloped in the real world, but this one, the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, all the runways, everything is true to scale as far as elevation is concerned, and it is just fantastic. I mean, it is mind-blowing. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to remove that yoke for a moment, and we'll bring it right back so we can release the parking brake, and then I'm going to reset my camera. There we go. I'm going to scroll out just a little bit like that, bring it down slightly, and let's go ahead and get going. Now again, we are at Kilo Alpha Papa Alpha, and this airport is just sort of at the outskirts of the Denver Tech Center. It's in Centennial, Colorado. It sits kind of alongside I-25 and Arapahoe. Arapahoe is the major street that is to the north of the runway. And we'll go ahead and get our airspeed up here and go ahead and pull back our yoke, and we are airborne. Now, I will say that my controls are just a little bit twitchy in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I am still getting them dialed in, and it is a little bit of a work in progress. to do that. If you're familiar with sim-based games, anything where you use an external controller, you know that oftentimes between one version to the next, there are quite a few little tweaks that you need to do, and this is certainly no exception. So the first thing that we notice here is, not a whole lot of trees around the airport. The grass being a bit brown and yellow, that is pretty much true to scale for this time of the year. We have had a very scorching summer for Denver, Colorado. I forget how many days in a row that we've had north of 90, 95 degrees, but we haven't had rain for as long as I can remember. Now we're coming up here on some more wooded areas. This is all pretty much true to scale. Also, our skyline of Denver is coming into view there, just off to the left, and it is much more detailed, as you can tell. Cherry Creek Lake just in front of us. Again, that's all detailed fairly well. I'm going to go out external here, and just please ignore my erratic flying. This just flying outside of the cockpit like this is a little more difficult. These gauges and everything do pop up when you go outside of the cockpit, just to aid in understanding where you are, how fast you're flying, etc., etc. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the same turn that I made before, just to kind of reiterate some of the differences between the two sims. I will point out one thing right over here, just next to the altitude area where my mouse is pointing. That is a remote control airfield that's based at Cherry Creek State Park, and that's really there in real life, and it's about that size. It's a pretty good size paved area for the RC airplanes to land and take off, and it's really, really cool. So we are coming over just about my neighborhood. It's kind of roughly. As you can see right in front of me, a lot more buildings there in the Denver Tech Center. Now, one thing is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is based off of Bing map data, Bing satellite map data, and it is slightly outdated because I'm going to point something out to you. Just off of my left wing, coming into view here now, you will see a couple of brown patches of dirt surrounded by some buildings and what looks kind of like a star shape. That's actually the Hyatt, that star shaped hotel that's kind of got three wings there. That's the Hyatt Regency. But those patches of dirt, those are apartments now. And right next to it was the office building that I worked in for 22 years before I was made redundant. And of course, we're crossing over I-25, I-225, and we have traffic moving up and down the interstates, which is very, very cool. And as you see the Front Range there, the mountains off in the Rockies there, very, very cool looking. This simulator is just absolutely fantastic at this particular point in time for VFR, general aviation, low and slow kind of flying, just like we're doing right now. It is fantastic. The visuals, everything. The weather, again, I preset the weather to be clear skies because I didn't want to have any differences between the two videos. And but it's almost about the same weather right now outside. I was outside a little bit earlier watering, and pretty much the same. But all of this area that is in front of you, Cherry Creek Lake again, watch my bank angle, Jerry, is all there. It's all right there in real life. The football field, you'll see a football field coming up right there, kind of underneath my aircraft off to the right side. That is Cherry Creek High School. That is where they play. Again, I-225, which runs east and west, kind of goes out to DIA. I-25 is right to our left there. We're going to go back inside the cockpit, and I'm going to basically fly VFR, visual flight rules, basically following I-25 towards downtown Denver. And again, everything is just like it is in the real world. If you look on Google Earth, or if you look on Bing Maps, you would see basically everything that you see here. Now, of course, there are a few things that are slightly out of place that don't necessarily look like they do in real life, or like they, or the buildings might look a little bit different. It's been released for just over 24 hours at the time that I'm recording this, and I have full faith that Microsoft will and Asobo Studios will work out some of these kinks and deliver patches and everything to the game, to the simulator, in due time. Now, we're coming up here on Colorado Boulevard and I-25, just kind of off the nose there of the aircraft, and that is a major thoroughfare. Lots of shopping areas. Cherry Creek Mall is up, just up north of Colorado Boulevard there. We're going to continue to make the turn around following I-25. I-25 is not a straight path going north and south through the greater metro area of Denver. It winds and turns through the different parts of the town. I'm not sure why they made it that way, but usually major roads are based off of older roads, and older roads are often based off of stagecoach routes and stuff like that. So who really knows? That's really not what this video is about. But anyway, we're coming up on the Denver University DU campus, and again, there might be some anomalies with the way that overpasses or underpasses look in the sim. Again, I have full faith that all of this is going to get sorted out in due time. And but it's just great to see. It's great to see some traffic running up and down the highway there, I-25, and it's just gorgeous to see downtown Denver, the skyline look just like it does if I were to drive through that part of town. Go back into the cockpit here, and we'll try to keep this video rather short because all I really wanted to do was just show you all the differences between P3D V5 and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And if you are sort of on the fence, if you've wanted to get into flight simulation, there is absolutely nothing wrong with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 from my perspective. Now granted, it is lacking a little bit in jetliner. There, depending on which version of Flight Simulator 2020 you get or which package you get, you'll have, if you get all of them, if you get the Beast package, it has both the Airbus A320, the Boeing 747-8, and the Dreamliner in it. In my opinion, and I've been flying flight simulators since the early 1980s, and in my opinion, the default jets do lack just a little bit, especially compared to some of the study level aircraft that I am used to flying in P3D. If you've read my blog postings on the subject of Microsoft Flight Simulator, then you probably know that I am not planning on ditching P3D for my jetliner flying. I will keep doing that until those jets are released. Now off the left there, that's where the Denver Broncos play. That is in, well, it's changed names many times. Invesco Stadium, I don't really know what it's called now, but everybody pretty much calls it Mile High Stadium because that's what the old stadium is called. And we're just going to kind of make a turn here, and let me bounce out of the cockpit again so you can see some of the area of Denver. The river that just went underneath us, that is the South Platte, I believe, is what that's called. And I can't think of the name of that lake that's in front of us, but that is really there in real life. Again, everything is represented really, really well. I've been flying a lot of flights over the Denver area, spotting different things, different types of buildings, landmarks, parks. These highway interchanges and everything are true, pretty much true to life. That old power station, I believe it is, that's there in real life. We're coming up on the Denver skyline here, and as I can point out, the cash register building, which is what it's called, is just right there in front of us. It looks like an old, kind of an old style, old-timey cash register with the front, where the price would show. It's just right there behind that other taller building that is called the cash register building. But I flew through here earlier today, just kind of planning my route that I was going to take you all on, and it was just stunning, just amazing. And again, there may be a few anomalies here and there, some things. I know that some of the bridges along the River Thames in London are underwater, things like that. I have every confidence that Asobo and Microsoft will fix all of this and make everything just fantastic for us. I really believe that we're seeing the future of flight simulation right here with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It might be a little while. If you already have X-Plane or P3D, and if you want to wait a while, that's fine too. Here we're coming up on Coors Field. That's where the Colorado Rockies play. The Major League Baseball team here in Colorado is right down below us. Looks just like it does. There's the cheap seats out in the outfield. That's usually where I'm playing. There is Union Station there in Denver, where you can catch the ski train up to Winter Park or the Amtrak. The Pepsi Center is right here. This is where the Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets play. And like I said, and there's Mile High Stadium again where the Denver Broncos play. Everything is right here, right there, and pretty amazing. I'm going to get back in the cockpit and I'm going to fly back towards Centennial Airport. I don't think I will take the time to land. There's a Union Pacific or BNSF rail yard right down below us. Anyway, just wanted to point out just a couple of things about the new sim. This is all default. I have not added anything at all to the simulator at all. My hardware configuration is an Intel 7th generation. Let's see, what is my CPU? My CPU is an 8700K. I don't overclock it, and I am running the NVIDIA 1080 Ti. That's the 11 gig graphics card. Now, I built this machine about 2 years ago. If you're familiar with my channel, if you have been kind of watching my videos, other content and such, then you know that I built that about 2 years ago. And I was really concerned at just exactly how things were going to perform with the new sim, and I am just absolutely amazed at the performance. I have everything moved to the far right. All my sliders are to the far right, and I'm getting plenty of frames per second, and I have no stutters, no lag. I have no major visual issues. Certainly nothing that I wouldn't expect for something that has been out for less than 48 hours. There will be updates, there will be some patches, there will be things that obviously Microsoft will need to fix in the coming days, weeks, months, whatever. But right now, this is one awesome flight simulator if you're interested in such. There will be, as I also said, I think at the beginning of this segment, we already have some third-party add-ons, but everything from the ground textures, the weather engine in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 has been completely updated. I don't think there'll be any need for a third-party weather engine. I don't think there'll be any need for third-party sky texture manipulation programs. I don't think that there will be anything that will need to manipulate or enhance the ground textures. I think that everything that you see, the highways, the buildings, the streets, everything looks fine. There will be, as a matter of fact, Orbix released on the same day that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 went live. They released an enhancement pack for London to include more of the London skyline buildings, some of the more popular buildings that weren't included in the first, in the default version. Obviously, there will be aircraft released for this study level type aircraft, both PMDG, FS Labs, Quality Wings, Aerosoft. They're all working diligently on getting their study level aircraft ready for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I think PMDG was the first one that I've seen that put a date when we might expect it, and that is going to be late in Q1 of 2021. So we're talking probably March, April timeframe of 2021. And that's one of the reasons why I will stick to flying Prepared version 5 for my jetliner type entertainment. But flying general aviation, VFR, low and slow, looking at the scenery around me, flying to interesting places and whatnot, this is going to be the sim that I will use for that. I hope that you've enjoyed this comparison video between Prepared version 5 and the brand new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I purchased this simulator just like everyone else. I am not one of the early adopters. I am not a Microsoft partner in any way. These are my opinions, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You will hear varying differences of opinions as you watch videos on YouTube and watch live streams on Twitch. And everyone, like I said, everyone is entitled to their opinions. But I think this is an absolutely fine simulator, and I am looking forward to the future for exactly what this brings to all of us. Because I think if Microsoft continues to build on this, I think if the third-party developers continue to support it, as they have certainly shown that they're doing so now, I think that this is going to be just a fantastic simulator, and will be something that we can all continue to enjoy this wonderful hobby of flight simulation for many, many years to come. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said in the first segment at the very beginning of the video, if you are new to my channel, I would appreciate you subscribing, liking my video, leaving a comment if you have a question. If you are brand new to flight simulation, if you're brand new to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and if you have a question, I would be more than happy to try to help you answer that question. I will be putting out some tutorial videos in the coming days and weeks, just my style of how I do tutorial videos. I know that there's a lot of content that's being recorded on this sim right now, and that's all fine and great. I do things a little bit different than others, and they do things different than me. So, but if I can help anyone anyway, I would very much be willing to do so. Again, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and stay safe out there, and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.